connect. There's the we're recording message for you. So if you don't want to be seeing where we might be putting this into our online group in the future, and if you don't want your name to show, then please just change your name by right clicking on your Zoom screen. So I'm delighted to welcome you this morning to our Strengths Insight webinar. We're going to be exploring career well-being through a lens of strengths, and share with you why we really love the Clifton Strengths tool and how it's helping us and all the people that we've interacted and worked with over the years do what comes naturally to them better, and so that they can focus on the things that they do right rather than on the things that they struggle with or feel drained by. And how many times have you got to that point, and what have you felt like when you've written, I've had enough, I want to quit my job? What do you feel like when you write it on the calendar? A lot of times I know I've been there myself, and it's with immense satisfaction and relief that I've got myself out of one situation and I've opened up a door into a new community. It's a time when we're writing our letter of resignation and we actually relish the moment when you slap it down on the desk in front of your boss. So I want to give you today a surefire way to help you avoid getting to that point. And that when you're actually writing quit job on the calendar, it's not that you're quitting, it's that you're moving on because it's the right time for you to move on. So why don't you put into the chat, introduce yourselves, where are you calling in from, one word to describe your career well-being at the moment, and a positive word that people use to describe you. What are the things that come to your mind? And my colleague today that's joining me on the webinar is Helen Shipton, and Helen is the Catalytic Community Manager. So we've got somebody calling in from South Africa. Welcome. And if you want to add as well your career well-being, is it sort of, if you were to score yourself on it, would it be something that you'd give yourself a 10? It's really fantastic. Or have you dialed in today simply because you're below 5 and you're struggling a little bit? We'll come back to where people are from at the moment. And there's a 2.0. On question 2, we're a 9 on the career wellbeing. Fantastic place to be. And let's see if we can help you think forwards to how you can raise that and get that magic 10. What does that magic 10 feel like? So the webinar today is for you if you want to be able to speak up and be heard more, so that you can really affect your career and take control of it. It's for you if you're feeling a bit frustrated and you feel like your energy is sapping, things are a bit waning, and you really want to get more energized. Maybe though you're just really smart and understand that you want a simple and effective system to help you secure the next promotion or job that you're going for. The webinar is not for you if you think you've got all the luck, you're just happy where you are and things are going to come across your path. Maybe you're not understanding that you need to put a bit of work in on yourself to be the very best version of you. Or maybe you just like cruising from webinar to webinar. And if that's the case, welcome. We're delighted to have you with us. We've got somebody else, or 2 people calling in from Hampshire. I know Bournemouth's not in Hampshire anymore, it's in Dorset. We've got people who are adaptable, people who are supportive, people who are hard workers. It's really great to see you, and hopefully later on we're going to be having some time to have a conversation. So if you really want to know how strengths really works and the things that people aren't talking about it and how you can apply it to well-being, you want to know how you can be the best version of yourself and how we can help you to shine, then you're absolutely in the right place. So just the housekeeping for those online webinars that we're all used to. We're going to be talking to you for 30 minutes and then there'll be space and time to have more of an open free chat. Turn all those notifications off. I've remembered to turn my Alexa off today. And we're going to hope that you're going to be engaged and active in the whole conversation today. And we want to give you the gift of insights into Clifton Strengths. So what are some of the examples of people that we've worked with over the last 4 or 5 years have connected with their top talent themes? There was an early career research engineer who was a PhD supervisor, is in his early 40s, and we helped him to retain his 2 PhD students who were on the edge of quitting. We helped him understand what it was about those students that were causing them to be frustrated and really not connect with him. We helped a master's engineering student who was really burnt out and overwhelmed with the emotion that was going on over the last 2 years in the lockdown. And we worked with an energetic and social product engineer who was faced with writing a technical manual that was just utterly draining, especially when her boss took away all the fun, exciting parts of her job to make her focus on it. And then the engineer who was going through all sorts of emotional trauma with so many decisions to make and wasn't able to connect with people during COVID. We're going to show you how Strengths knowledge has helped them navigate important, difficult and challenging parts of their career. So the philosophy behind the positive psychology Clifton Strengths approach is focusing on what you do right rather than fixating on what's wrong with you or with other people. And the key to success is about fully understanding your talents, how you can shift them into strengths and then apply them in your everyday life. One of the key things and things that I wish that I'd known at the beginning of my career was having the words to talk to my boss. How that I felt when I was having to work on something that demanded precision, something that required the documentation of detail and having an incredibly consistent structure. And those of you who saw my Clifton Strengths top 5 when we started, before I shared my screen, will see that I've got strategic and ideation. I'm a really big, fast thinker. I'm outcome focused. I'm creative and I like new ideas. So consistency is something that's right down at the bottom of my profile. Now, my early managers used to call that weakness. You're not good at completing and finishing. You're too busy being excited about new ways to do things. I've got maximizer. I love making things bigger and brighter and shinier. I'm always seeing, oh, that's a good thing to do. I can add that in. And so I can really frustrate people. So when I was in my career and I was a product specialist on this highly technical, complicated piece of equipment driven by this massive piece of software, having to be precise about explaining things to people was something that really frustrated me. It was fine while I had parts of my job that enabled me to spend time talking to clients, supporting the sales team, troubleshooting and production, where I could be up, out and about, ticking things off, making things work, making a difference. But gradually, when different aspects of my job got taken away from me and I was left literally with this manual to write, it was like going into work every day with concrete boots on. I sat in my car until the very last pip at 9 o'clock before I then really pulled the keys out of the ignition, slammed the door and heavily pushed the door open and went up the back steps quietly, silently and sluggishly, step by step. I was utterly drained and I did not know why. But now I've done my Clifton Strengths, I can say that's because I'm really excited at the beginning of a project. I bring energy into a room and I'm able to help others achieve their best. I've now learned to work with people who love precision and documenting detail. They are my greatest friends. I love working with them. And I absolutely found that the people who feel that their happy place is doing needlepoint and modeling and understanding the details and systems behind the business or behind the product, they are phenomenal people. They are my idols. I love them. Instead, I'm the person who is utterly drained by having to just do that day in, day out. So if you're working with you, just give me those things to do sparingly. I can do them, absolutely. But I need the other things wrapped around my job. They aren't the things that give me that inner deep satisfaction. And that's where my colleagues quite often are the people who love that detail and that documentation. And having my Clifton Strengths and the people I work with, Clifton Strengths, helps me and them understand what things are causing frustration and friction when we're having a meeting. But more often than not now, we've learned to really value each other. And the power of having your Clifton Strengths is that if you're working on with them and focusing on them every day, you're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life. That's not just about career, that is in the big picture, because most of us don't just do our job to earn money. We do our job because we enjoy changing and making a difference. Whether that's like my colleague Helen, our community manager, who loves connecting with people and creating a safe space for them and relishes the time having long conversations about how to enrich other people and what can make them be their best. My focus is about helping people be energized and helping people get a positive outcome, applying my strategic and ideation and lending my talent themes to them to provide structure and creative thought processes in a really collaborative space. Really different ways of helping and supporting people improve their quality of life and their well-being, whether it's their social, their career well-being, their community well-being, or their family and other aspects of the life that they're living. But the other thing that is really interesting from the research that Gallup have done is that people who are focusing on their strengths are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. And more and more employers are just loving the fact that they can have employees who are more productive, more profitable, but create much more energized. And the thing that really drives me is an inclusive space for working. And we've been working as well with universities to create that inclusive space in the teaching and learning environment as well. So I think it's time to do something a little bit more interactive as well. So looking at those 6 characteristics about working in your strength zone, if you could just put in your chat, I want you to just spend a couple of minutes looking at those 6 things. Don't spend too long on it, and jot down. So where are you on the scale of in number 1, looking forward to going to work? Is that a 10, a 5, or a 1? Just a 1, a 5, or a 10? Do you have more positive or negative interactions with your co-workers? Just be quick about it in the chat. Is it a 1, a 5, or a 10 when 10 is high? Do you treat your customers better because you're working in your strength zone and connect with them? Is it a 1, a 5, or a 10? Do you tell your friends that you work for a really great company or organization if it's a place of education? Is it a 1, a 5, or a 10? See, Kathy's being really, really hardworking, diligent there. Thank you, Kathy. So you've scored yourself 2 5s. We want to help you move to being a 10. How about anybody else? Any other scores? Who looks forward to going to work every day? Question 5. Is it a 1, a 5, or a 10? Annie scoring herself on question 2, a 9. You're getting more positive than negative interactions with your co-workers. Fantastic. And that makes it really worthwhile when you're going to work. You feel like you're doing a much better job. And having those positive, creative, and innovative moments. And these are the characteristics that when you're working with your strength zone, when you've identified them as talents, then you're able to really connect better with people. So why have we set this webinar up? We really wanted to give people insights into why Clifton Strengths was important for everybody, but also why it was important to us. And something that Helen sent to me recently was a TikTok video of this guy who was talking around and asking questions. And he said, have you ever noticed how we spend our times, once we become okay or good at something, we kind of becomes a habit and we stop focusing on it, we ignore it. And the things that we are good at when we're younger, the things that are innate within us, our talents, are the things that we push behind us and forget about. And we spend more and more time focusing on the things we admire in other people. We think, oh, that'll be good to do. I see how they do that. They're really effective because they're organized and they do lists. Let's try doing lists. If you're not a list person, you never ever finish those lists. You never tick them off. They're not to-do lists. They're like me, they're wish lists. So understanding the power in other people, and the thing that people love about each of us is the things that we do naturally, the things that are authentic to us. So we wanted to share with you insights into what talents are, what those natural things are. And when I look back at the things that I did as a child, they're the things that I've now understood were my greatest talents. The fact that I like to be busy, getting out there and doing things. That if I'm having conversations with people, they're very focused and purposeful conversations. They're not conversations about just understanding how somebody is. And I've had to learn to be mindful about asking and checking in and waiting for people to respond to me when I say, how are you? And I now know to then say, well, what was that like? What caused that? And that's really, for me, has helped me by learning to be a better coach as I've grown through my career, has really helped me to give more time and space to people. But people like Helen, that's something that comes absolutely naturally to her. That is her priority in life, is understanding people and what makes them tick and how to make them better. Very different approaches, but both have really great outcomes. There is no right way to be who you are. So when we talk about talents, what do we mean? The clues to your talents are when you're doing something and you lose track of time. You suddenly realize that it's just an hour or two has gone and you've missed going in for your dinner. You've missed making a call to somebody. Sometimes it's difficult to understand what it is that we are doing and what's important. One of the things I do is I lose track of time when I'm writing website pages. I've got no idea why. And I think it's because it's that creative bringing together of lots of knowledge and information and then being able to share it with other people. The other thing when you're using your talents is you learn rapidly and it feels like no big deal. And we all seem to think that this is something that everybody does because you found it so easy. Everybody must find it easy. But actually that's not true. And when you start understanding the things that you're doing really rapidly, and you talk to other people about the things that they're doing when they lose track of time, you'll realize it's different. And the things that people enjoy doing are just different. When you're working with your talents, you are able to deliver a near perfect performance every single time because it's something that's innate. It's something that you've become habitualized about, and you're not trying to do something that doesn't come naturally to you. You'll find it's something that you yearn to do, you enjoy it. I talked about my friend and colleague who does needlepoint and is really structured about it. She loves it, and that's her space to be happy in. She's got control over something, and it has a beautiful, structured, ordered pattern and product that comes out of it. And that for her is that deep inner satisfaction. So she both yearns to do it, but she's also satisfied by doing it and is energized. And she takes those talents and themes into the workplace. And at work, she finds she's the person who gets frustrated by people messing up the systems, not knowing how and why something was done in the past. And when we worked with her, she was able to then label it and give this sort of discipline and this structured and this consistency names to the way that she was going about doing it. I can see there's lots of things going on in the chat about more scores and people experiencing energy in the things that they're doing, which is great. Thank you. Keep contributing and we'll come back to any questions that you might have later on. So 3 questions that we can ask ourselves to help us harness our talents is: how do I identify what I do best? How can I use my talents to accomplish what is more important to me? So it's all very well, we've all done these assessments. I've done Myers-Briggs, and I've done the and it's gone straight out of my head. An assessment I did early when I went to my first management course, which labelled me as a shaper, a communicator, and an implementer. But it also labelled me as not a completer finisher. And that was something that a lot of my early bosses identified too. Finish that off, Jan, let's move on to the other thing. It's like, no, I want it to be really good. There's something not quite right in there. I want to make it perfect. What I am now learning is that perfection is the killer of dreams, and it's better to get something moving and be able to adjust it as I go forward. But also understanding what your unique contributions are in your job, in your family, or in your friendship groups. And having your Clifton Strengths profile helps you to answer those questions. Belbin, thanks, Hannah. Just escaped my head for the moment. Belbin, indeed. Belbin's really great as an assessment. It does give you a framing, but it's got 9 characteristics. You get your top 3, but it labels as well the things that you're not and the things that people can poke you and build you, really almost tease you about at times. And the reason we love the Clifton Strengths is it's positive, and it's got 34 different characteristics. And you can get those 34 characteristics will come in any combination. And when you start doing the maths, and I know Hannah, I think you've got a maths background, you'll be able to tell us, and anyone else, just get your calculator out and do the factorial of 34. You'll find the number of combinations of people having all 34 themes in the same order. It's a massive number. In fact, when you just look at the top 5 in any order, you'll find it's 1 in 278,000 chance of finding somebody. I don't think I know anybody, that many people, but I have actually met 2 people who got the same top 5 in different orders. But the chance of finding somebody with the same top 5 in the same order is 1 in 33 million. So knowing your talent themes and having this really nuanced framework to describe, it's really like having your fingerprint. So I just want to clarify talents. A person's talents are the thoughts, feelings, and behaviours that come naturally to you. They're the source of your true inner potential. And by applying them consistently and understanding and noticing what you're doing when you're applying them means that you can really build your own confidence, shape how you go about doing things, but have a vocabulary to talk to your co-workers, your partner, and your family, understand your children better. But really, really importantly is to go and talk to your line manager and say, do you know what, I know this piece of my job is really important to me, but writing a technical manual, it's really draining me. And when you take away the fun, interesting, exciting, variable aspects of my job, it's like you've pulled my heart out. It's the essence of my life is doing that variability. So making me do this really rigid documentation piece is not for me. Being able to say that to your line manager is actually saying, I can do this for you and I will deliver you a phenomenal piece of work, but don't take these pieces of my job away. And it's that vocabulary that's really great. Likewise, noticing the things that are your child's preferred ways of doing things, knowing that one of your kids likes to plan what they're going to wear for the next morning, the next day, the next week for a particular event, whereas the other actually just likes to pick up whatever happens to be on the floor from yesterday or last week. That we all have different ways about going around our lives, and there is no right way. The only right way is your way. So I'm a great believer in understanding the things that light each of us fire. So strengths-based development is based on 3 assumptions: that you can only learn some behaviours to a level of excellence, that everybody contributes in their own unique way, and that fixing weaknesses prevents failure and building strengths leads to success. You know, if you thought about Mo Farah, you know, what a phenomenal long distance runner, absolutely amazing stamina, and that he's able to go from running marathons to the 5,000 or 10,000 meters. He's never going to be a sprinter. He's never going to have that power in his physique, in his stride length to compete with any of the best sprinters in the world. He's never going to become a power lifter or Arnold Schwarzenegger in terms of bodybuilding times. He just doesn't have the DNA. So strengths development is really about focusing on the things that you can do and not worrying about the things that you are drained by. I know a lot of people who do the Clifton Strengths assessment in our workshops and in our coaching groups talk to us and say, yeah, the first question they have is, what about my bottom 5? What about my weaknesses? I want to know and understand them. But your weaknesses aren't the things at the bottom. Yes, we need to learn about them and manage them and understand them and know that and what those characteristics mean. But the important thing is knowing that quite often it's our talent themes at the top that become our weaknesses. So for me, I've got activator at number 4. Activators just want to get moving. We're the first person to put our hand up in the class at school when the teacher says, does anybody want to try this now? Can I have somebody to sort of step forward and talk about something? Or I'm the first person at the conference when the buffet opens. I'm at the beginning of the queue, not because I'm a glutton. I do like my food, but actually, hey, let's move on to the next thing. Let's get started. But I also, in projects, I bring energy and excitement. But one of my greatest talent themes is that energy, but also it can be a really, really irritating feature when I'm in a project team and somebody is trying to explain the importance that if we do this, this may happen, and then this may happen, and there might be some really serious consequences. I have to learn to notice that my activator needs to sometimes just be held in a little bit. And those are the kinds of things we help people tap into when we're involved in coaching arrangements with them. So we want our strengths to be able to, we want to be able to control them. We want them to land lightly and beautifully on somebody so they can appreciate them. And we want to recognize and help other people be able to live in their strength zones so they're not stressed by trying to be somebody that they're not. I did say we were going to focus on careers and career well-being today. And the number one reason that people leave their jobs today is that is for career growth opportunities. What do we mean by career growth opportunities? That's a really interesting phrase, isn't it? Mostly it means my current job, I've outgrown it. I haven't got the skills or abilities that I'm using them in my current job. I want to go somewhere else to use it. And also it's about bad management. So the bad management can come from a manager who doesn't understand how people can use their talent themes really well. But it could also be that conflict of characteristics and styles. We're going to talk to you about a few of those shortly. And it could also be about a workplace and company culture. You don't fit. Why did you quit your last job? Add a few suggestions into the chat. What are the things that have frustrated you? Was it about promotion? Was it about overwork, too little work that you didn't like? Was it that you needed a bigger salary to really reward you? So we're going to talk about those and it just means that when I'm sort of move on a little bit later, I'll be able to pick up some of those questions. So what is the career well-being around? What is it that can suddenly land on you like a ton of bricks or a ton of feathers even that really squashes your capability? How are we going so far? Is everything what you're expecting to hear about insights into talents and strengths? So if you want to put your thumbs up and give me a bit of feedback, that would be really great. And there's a reaction button at the bottom of your screen. Anybody? Yeah, we've got a thumbs up. Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, so Clifton Strengths, we love them really because there's 34 talent themes, and you know we just love meeting people with these different combinations of themes. There is no 2 talent themes that will not come in the top of somebody's profile, but immediately you see them together, Helen and I are able to get the sense of the amazing capability that person brings to the role that they're doing. And it's having that vocabulary to give you the words and phrases to describe how you think, feel, and importantly get things done, which ultimately is what you get rewarded for at work, that really helps you to nuance the way that you bring value to organizations. So what we really love to do as well is not just help people in that one-to-one coaching environment, but we love to work in workshops, and we really as well have enjoyed over the last year in particular bringing people together into group coaching environments and helping use coaching language and style and questioning to help people become better managers and enjoy the power of being able to listen better to other people by asking really fantastic questions. And so in group coaching situations, we give people space to practice and observe each other as they work through challenges, imparting coaching skills and techniques to others. And it's through this group coaching environment that we're able to help people boost their career well-being through leveraging their talents, by discovering your own self-awareness and identifying your greatest fears that are talent-driven, but also helping you to connect with other people. So one of the people that we've helped over, this is 3 people actually that we managed to help in one situation. So Marcus was a new PhD supervisor. He'd been working in research for a number of years, and he had 2 students. And one of them was incredibly laid back. He was really easygoing, liked chatting. But Marcus was frustrated, saw him as not being very focused, a bit lazy, and slow to give him material to when he was asking for it. And so Marcus was on his case all the time, chasing him to give him things, chasing him for papers, for academic insights, because he was working in a slightly different area than Marcus's main focus. Marcus had this amazingly deep love of learning. He read huge amounts and had all his life. Clifton Strengths term, he had learner in his top 5. Deeply analytical, he questioned people absolutely relentless he was in his questioning. It was phenomenal to see. He was a really fast thinker. He saw patterns, he could navigate through challenges, he could put information from different places and ask more questions. So for some people, he was like, whoa, that's just amazing. He was busy, he was demanding, he was active, and this laid-back student was pinned against the wall, threatened, challenged, and didn't know how to respond to Marcus. The other student was really structured, really focused, very diligent, but was getting increasingly stressed. They appeared to Marcus to not be able to think for themselves. Were always running off to the library for hours and hours and working really, really long hours. And she was spending more and more time and becoming really withdrawn. And Marcus was really concerned about her well-being. And when we started looking at Marcus's talent themes and the behaviours of his students, he came one day and he went, I'm in my basement. My talent themes aren't working for me. Help. How can we understand it? And so he had the students do their Clifton Strengths. We had this conversation which allowed both to see that the student one needed time to process information, needed time to enjoyed having intellectual conversations, but didn't like being interrogated with fast fire questions because they felt challenged. And they weren't a big producer of material. They preferred to do 1 or 2 really targeted, high quality pieces of material. So Marcus was desperate to learn and know about this area that he'd taken on board. And we really wanted to help bridge this gap. So we gave them a new communication channel. The other student was terrified that they weren't up to scratch. They weren't up on the ball. They weren't learning things quick enough. And so Marcus was able to go and talk with this student and help them understand the learning process and break it down into structured steps. So 3 people were helped by this kind of conversation around strengths. So this is another engineer. We love working with engineers, scientists, and mathematicians. It's really where our home is. And so this was a master's student who was just suffering from burnout and overwhelm, particularly in the last 2 years. There's an individual who was really passionate about the work they were doing, wanted to be the best sort of engineer, working on some projects, very structured, very disciplined, problem solving was their thing, tended to see lots of problems that possibly weren't that important, but more problems, let's solve it, more problems, and was challenged about the sort of writing a dissertation. It's going to have to solve the problem. And when we started, I did a bit of sneaky Googling, and it's like, that was a challenge that's been around for quite a few years. And actually, I know that there are still people working on that particular modelling. And the isolation of COVID meant that her natural place to go to talk to people was taken away, and it was left with online lectures and learning. And so this drive that she had gave her this burnout. Her expectations of herself were enormous. So Clifton Strengths and conversations helped her to label and name the drive that she had for these bigger and better results. And we helped to have this understanding that she didn't need to make everything perfect. She was not going to solve a problem that had been around for 20 years, and lots of other people were doing PhDs on it, not just master's projects. And we helped her create a strategy for building her need for social and community well-being and for helping others, which is what she'd done. Other challenges that people have had about when you're a very organized and structured person. So you're the kind of person that likes this, anticipates risk, has never lost anything in their life. Has anybody in here, has anybody never could say confidently, I've never lost anything ever? It's people who are really structured. Everything has a place. They're very tidy, very disciplined, and that's a Clifton Strengths talent theme, is being disciplined. So being structured can sometimes cause you to feel inadequate when other people around you aren't. So May is an engineer who was a really confident individual, and felt frightened because she wasn't able to deliver and meet the expectations of her family. So we helped her again to name and claim her talents, but we helped her work with peer groups to help them grow in their confidence. And it also, by having shared spaces where people got different people don't so I got sidetracked by the chat then. So where people are able to listen to other people's challenges, and sometimes in a one-on-one coaching session, people can feel a bit sort of under the spotlight, and by hearing about the challenges others focus, they can actually gain deeper learning and appreciate the people that they work with. So, and another example is somebody, as you may know people, that this may be you, that you lose confidence by not interacting with people. You may not contribute much in meetings because you're not quite sure how to interrupt, or other people overwhelm you. And you might not like conflict. You might feel that in team meetings, it's not just about the technical, you need to understand the people that you're working with. And having a vocabulary to value these talent themes, sometimes in engineering, people who like that social, the community, creating space for people to learn and grow, hating conflict, feeling really stressed by that, but not being able to verbalize it. Sometimes in engineering, we don't value those talent themes. We don't bring the people skills that engineers bring, that empathy and understanding of the workplace. And giving yourself a vocabulary and being able to rephrase it can help you see the absolute value that you have. And so this learning is really behind the creation of Momentum Coaching Club that we want to share you a little bit about this morning. We want to help give people a big boost by sharing challenges and offering strategies, by learning from other people. So it's a peer community where you're learning coaching techniques and practicing them, but also developing really insightful self-awareness. So Momentum Coaching is really about helping to giving people a nudge, but also helping others nudge each other and building that connection with people as we share it. Fundamental to this is, we're all different, and helping us to stop comparing ourselves with each other. What's, difference between an apple and an orange? Well, both pieces of fruit, but they're really quite different, aren't they? One of them's really crunchy, one of them's really squishy, aside from the obvious one's easier to peel than the other. But again, that easiness to peel is something that's different. So we want to give you that inner compass to help you understand how you can navigate yourself and your career. You might say, why should I get involved in career coaching? Aside from the fact it's more cost effective than getting yourself an expensive one-on-one coach type of session, which can cost from anything from 150 up to £500 for a session, depending on where you are in your career and what kind of coach you're looking for. Group coaching gives you that environment to share your ideas and support others. It's not so much focused on you. You have your moment, but it's also about shared development and growth, but also seeing how other people grow, which gives you insights into the talent themes that some of your co-workers may have. But it gives you case studies to draw on from other club members, and it allows you to gain confidence in the language and questioning that will be valuable throughout your career. And it's about celebrating your wins with others, because so often some of us just move on to the next thing. So the information I want to share with you this morning is about the Momentum group coaching that we've created and shaped based on our learning and requests from other people, and the group coaching sessions that we were running over the last 18 months of lockdown. Momentum is a monthly group coaching space, which is an online private space for our groups of 10 to 15 people. We provide worksheets for people each time, looking at coaching frameworks and models, and we've got a dedicated chat in our team space. But ultimately, it's all focused around the Clifton Strengths. We want to invite you to join us in having a go about and finding out and experiencing what it's like. We want to invite you to, Helen's putting some links in the chat so you can find out more and download more. We want to help you to have some meaningful conversations so you can learn about yourself, learn how you can adapt to others, but importantly, how you can connect and support other people, because none of us lives our lives in isolation at work or at home, whether in our family, any of the generations, and our relationships, but also with our friends in our social community and group works. We want to help you focus on what you do best, not what you do wrong. You know, providing that essence of fulfillment, and giving you resources and worksheets. And, you know, we've put a value on it of what, £150 that would help you to, if you wanted to go and spend your own time finding them, we've done all the hard work for you. As we ask people to join the Momentum coaching group, we're going to give a bonus to people with an onboarding call, which will really help you understand the challenges that you want to focus on. So in the coaching group over the year, you're going to be able to, you'll be ensured of the fact that we're going to be helping you focus on those challenges. Those challenges might change over the year, absolutely fine. We want to give people access to a quarterly mastermind group where we bring other coaching groups together, where we bring external speakers, but we also give people the opportunity to give their insights into their job and how their team learning at work has been able to maximize value from using Clifton Strengths. And we want to give you another bonus for those of you who are turning up today, and give you a Clifton Strengths debrief, which would normally cost you, whether you buy it from Gallup or any other coach, would be costing £150. So, you know, if you want to find out more, please do, you know, there's a link in the chat, or you can email Helen, or just book through her Calendly link to have a conversation and find out more about whether a coaching group is for you. Your minimum upfront investment would be £50 for your strengths code, and then £47 a month for joining that. So that gives you access to all sorts of interactions and support from both Helen and I, but also your coaching group cohort. And ultimately that's £470 over the year. But you can, if it's too much for you, we can give you a monthly payment option. And if that's really still too much of a challenge, you know, just give us a call, have a chat with Helen, and talk about the things that are important to you and what it is that you need. And we also have our Strengths Jam, which is a free strengths community chat every month. And the link for that will be going into the chat too. So our ambition is absolutely to build a community of supportive peers who are committed to supporting each other and learning and growing together. It's about that connectivity between ourselves. You might be asking yourselves, oh, I just haven't got the time to commit to that. There's going to be reading, there might be videos to watch. Can I turn up the same time every month? Well, I'm in a number of different coaching groups, and I do miss some of them. And sometimes I'm in a global coaching group and the call is at 10 o'clock at night, and sometimes it's too much. We record our sessions for you, only for the private group, so that you can catch up and connect with your accountability partners to make sure that you're not missing out on the learning from that month. Maybe another question you might have is, what if it doesn't work for me? Do you know, this isn't for me. Do you know what? We'll just give you your money back. We don't want people to be here when they're not getting value from it and it's really not working from them. So no quibble, we will give you your money back, aside from the cost of the things that you've already used from the Clifton Strengths code. And then what's the catch? Well, we couldn't really find one. We think the value that you'll get out of being in our momentum coaching groups is huge in terms of your growth in confidence, your self-awareness, and how you can not just improve your own well-being at work and your social or financial or community well-being, but also how that will ripple out into everybody that you interact with and know, because you're going to be able to spot other people's talent themes, and you're going to understand how you can be a better collaborator, partner, teacher, educator, employee, or person who's being managed to everybody else. We absolutely want to help you be your best. We want you to learn coaching skills, how you can be that manager and get your team to focus on the things that energize them. But ultimately, we want you to be able to take that lead about focusing on what's right with other people and helping lift other people up and push that momentum out. So that personalized strengths debrief is going to be available for those of you who think, yeah, actually, that's going to be good for me. So if you sign up, and even then, if you sign up and you go after that, it's not for me, you will still have that debrief on your Clifton Strengths. So well-being through strengths absolutely is something that's relevant for your career, social, community, your financial well-being and your physical well-being. We can help you understand how you can pitch your talent themes and really give yourself the value and the lift that you need going through into 2022. So we really would love you to join us on this journey. And we can promise you an absolutely engaging, energizing and personally fulfilling experience. And we will help you realize that you're only an imposter when you're trying to be someone that you're not. We will have time for questions. I'm going to have a look in the chat. You've got our contact details. I'm on Twitter as well, which is Jan_catalytic. So as we move on into the question and answer session, we're just going to stop recording and invite you to have just a chat with us and ask questions, whether it's about your talent themes, about challenges you have, or if you think momentum coaching sounds interesting, we can share more with you. Thank you.